Hi, welcome to How to Write an Office in Java in 30 Days. And today we're going to talk about rows. And this is day 8. So what about rows? So we're going to show how to improve the resizing of the rows. Then within the spreadsheet component, then I will show how to improve the row selection, still based on the row header on the left side of the spreadsheet. Then we're going to change the database from using rowset to use rowset. And at the end, we're going to talk about adding a new action, which is open a file within the operating system action within NetBeans platform. So what about resizing the rows? So actually, it's coming from an article from a blog. So I invite you to read that blog to know all the details about resizing a row in a table. So when I'm talking about resizing a row, I mean that with the mouse, you can select the line between two rows, and then you can drag and drop the line that will resize the row. In our case, we're just going to do it within the row header. We're not going to do it on the data table. So you have the data table, and you have a header above it, and then on the left you have the row header with the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to only allow the resizing of the row with the mouse on the row headers. So we need to notify when we get the row resized. On the row header, we notify the table at the same time that the row is resized, and we also resize the data table row. So when the data table row is resized, we also need to notify the model event, because otherwise if we save the file and we reload it, then the row size will remain the old values. So for this, I need to extend the JTable component, because you only have an event when you call the set row 8 for all the rows of the table. 8 throws an event, but if you want to resize one row, you don't get any events from there. So I just override the set row 8 method and fire an event with it. Then with this event, I'm listening to this event. So whenever the row is resized, whether it's coming from the row header or from another method, I can listen to it. Then I get the sheet of this table, which is a POI object of this is a model. Then if the row does not exist, we need to create it, and if it exists, we need to set the 8 of this table, so that when it's saved, it's also saved in the file. Then here also you see that when it's resized, we also need to resize the row header. So in this case, if it's coming from, for example, if you're already loading a file that has a different 8 that's the standard 8, then the table will be resizing the row. Then it will fire an event, and then you need also to resize the row header to match the data header class size for the rows. And it's done with this method just by listening to the data table. Whenever a row is resized in the data table, then we also resize the row headers. You need to be careful not to loop, because of course, as I've just talked about, the row header is calling the data table to resize the row, and then the data table is calling the row header to resize the row. So we only do it when the 8 is different of the current 8. And here we have an example. So you see I've put the mouse between two lines, and then I can drag and drop the line up and back, and it will resize. So the row header, here you see the selection is on the row header, and it resizes at the same time the data table. So here you see, now we're going to talk about the row selection. That's also something that we're going to do within the row header on the left side. So when we select, so the row header is also the JTable, so it's very easy to do it. Then you just need to listen to the selection of this row header of this table, actually, but it's just table with one column. And whenever a row is selected, so a row with one column is selected, you need to select or to remove the selection of the data table. So it's just listening to the selection and then apply the same selection to the data table. So this one is quite easy to do. And now an example. Here you see I'm selecting different rows, and you see whenever I select within the row headers rows, it's also select to the data table. So now we're going to talk about rowset within database. So database in Java are called using JDBC, which is a library. From there you execute a SQL query, and from a SQL query, normally most of the people are quite used to get a result set. And result set is normally the result of your SQL query, where you can go from first result, second result, and so on. So you have basically a cursor to go from one result to another one, and so on. Where if we want to display a database, that could be quite difficult. I especially, for example, had the difficulty to update a row, because you can only execute an update when you know the primary keys and so on. And sometimes primary key can be composed of different columns. Fortunately, Java also has an object called rowset. A rowset is about like a wrapper around the result set that allows you to edit rows, to navigate between rows, so to go forward but also backwards, and it also contains some caching. So for more information, just go to the URL that I'm showing here. So now instead of executing with the execute statement, we're going to use the rowset. So you have a rowset factory. From this rowset factory, you just create a JDBC rowset. You have different kind of rowset, but in my case, I especially need a JDBC rowset. And from this rowset, I can execute an SQL query, and it will come within the rowset. So I'm going to show you different ways that make the way easier to show data using rowset. The first thing is to get the number of rows to show. How many results do you have? While you are using a result set, you will need probably to add a count, or then to go through all the results. Where here you just need to go to the last data. So it's data to the last row set. So in your row set, you just go to the last, and then by calling get row, you get the index of the row, and this is your last column, your last row. Sorry. Then getting a value at a specified row. Before, what we did with the result set, we were just going one by one and storing everything in memory. So here we can more rely on the database. So we can go directly to a specific line, for example, the line 50 of a result. And from there, we just need to get all the different columns. But to go to line 50, we don't need to go to line 1, 2, 3, and so on, and to store everything within the memory. And also updating a database is much easier now, because I don't need to create a very complex update. I just need to go to the rows that I want to update. And from there, I can manipulate also the value of one of the columns from it. One of the problems that I had with result set and with rowset is that you don't have a get object or set value for it. You need to know the type of it, and for each type, for example, you have a get int, get string, get array, and so on. So I've written some wrapper methods where I can just pass an object, and based on the type of the column, it will call set int, set array, set string, set char, and so on. Now we're going to talk about actions. With NetBeans action, you can create, you see, with the wizard, the new actions. Here we want to make an action specific for the Office data node. So we check new action, and this one will be a condition enable action. You come within this wizard, sorry. And here you can select data object, and we say that the user may select multiple nodes. So it will be, instead of being a data object as context, it will be a list of data object as context. So we want to be able to have it within the file when you right-click on the file. So here you can specify that it's a file type context menu item, and you can specify within this menu where you like to have it. So we generate for you all the annotations. Well, not all this annotation, but you can add here the MIME type you want to be supported for this action. And you see that the constructor of this action gets a list of data object, which is our context. This data object, they get a primary file, and the primary file is the file that you're right-clicking on. So in our case, we just want to open the files within the operating system. So from this list of data, we go for each file. We then call the desktop.open file. And here we have now, when we right-click on a file, we have a new menu item, which is called Open in System. And in my case, for example, when I just click Open, it opens the spreadsheet within Joeffice. If I right-click on Open in System, it will open my spreadsheet within LibreOffice. So here we are, now it's open within LibreOffice. Okay, just one more thing. Today I've done something special, is that instead of taking some screenshot while developing, that I always do every day, like while during the development I'm taking different screenshots. Here I let the screenshot tool to take a picture every 30 seconds. So now I've created from today, every 30 seconds, a movie. I think it will take like 6 minutes about, with every 30 seconds a screenshot of what I was doing today. So I will show the link here. You'll be able to click here. Just click here and you'll see a 5-minute link of what I'm doing as work within one day, writing an office in one day, with one screenshot every 30 seconds. So thank you for watching. This was to write an office in Java in 30 days. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And see you tomorrow for the next video. Bye.